30-06 John here, and today what I want to talk about are lever action 44 Magnums, 44 40s, and how they're related. So keep on watching, and I hope you enjoy the video. Winchester introduced the model 1873. It was stronger than their other older models. Also, they chambered it for the new 44 Winchester centerfire cartridge, their first centerfire lever action cartridge. The ballistics of the cartridge were pretty good for that time for a lever action rifle. It was a 200 grain flat nose lead bullet over 40 grains of black powder, giving 1,300 feet per second from a 24-inch barrel. Of course, this rifle was the gun that really won the West. It was chambered in lever action rifles and revolvers. Now, Marlin was making some pretty good lever actions also, and their 1889 model with the solid top and side ejection was getting popular. They were very nice rifles. So Winchester had to respond. They came out with the model 1892. This is the classic lever action. When everyone thinks about the Old West lever actions, it's the 1892. It was chambered into 4440, but in 1903 they actually increased the power of the load. There was a metal patched bullet, which is a jacketed bullet, 200 grain, with a velocity of 1,500 feet per second. Later, it was increased to 1,570 feet per second. That's actually a pretty stout load. The box actually said it was for the model 1892 high velocity load using smokeless powder. There was also the Tigre Spanish-made copy of the 1892 lever action rifle. These are very popular in all over South America and Mexico and Central America. They're pretty good metal. They're made from 1915 to 1938, so they're using modern metal, and they're not older metals like the older lever action rifles. They also have a Tigre on the side of their receiver emblem there. Also, they're chambered in 44 Largo, which is actually the Spanish equivalent to the 4440. So if you see that on a barrel, 44L, that's what that means, 44 Largo. And these guns were very popular and very common. That brings us up to the 44 Magnum, introduced in 1955. Everyone was trying to find firearms in this new cartridge, very powerful. Lever guns were sort of hard to come by. No one was really making them yet. The first rifle chambered in 44 Magnum was the Ruger auto-loading carbine, introduced in 1960. And the lever gun manufacturers, Winchester and Marlin, were looking at the cartridges, and they noticed that the 44 Remington Magnum was very close to the 4440. So Marlin, they tried to introduce the model 336 in 44 Magnum. They did that for about a year, 1963. Then they went back. Then they reintroduced the model 1894 in 44 Mag in 1969, and that was very popular. Winchester used the model 94, which is a little bit longer action, for the 30-30, chambered in 44 Magnum in the late 1960s. As I said earlier, lever-action rifles in .44 Magnum were very short supply, almost non-existent there during the 60s. One option that a lot of people do or did was that they would take a lever-action .44-40, take it to a gunsmith, a good gunsmith, and they would convert it to .44 Magnum. I don't know if that was just rechambering it or putting a new barrel in on it, adjusting the extractor and ejector. Not sure, but my dad had one. He had one of the El Tigre Spanish lever-action rifles. They were very popular. They were very cheap back in the 60s. And he had it converted to .44 Magnum. We had it many years. I know my dad shot a couple of white-tailed deer with it, a wild boar with it. I don't remember ever that rifle giving us any problems, being finicky. Seemed to be pretty reliable and stout rifle. I sort of like lever action .44 Magnums. Reminds me of my hunting and shooting with my dad and my brothers. Also, it is part of American history. It's been a little bit over 150 years since the .44-40 was introduced by Winchester in the 1873.